let's move on to Bengals Ravens. Bengals Ravens. Cincinnati coming off a big win, and thank you, Birdie, and everybody in the chat for making sure that I didn't bet the Jags when I wanted to. Houston opens up at Bengals Ravens. I'm looking at this Houston line. Sorry, it's so watching the Jags not win that game is shocking, and they put up those numbers. But let's talk Bengals Ravens first. Ravens open up at minus 13.5. They're still there. There are a couple books that brought it to 12 or 12.5. Others at 13 or 13.5. This total is either at 51 or 51.5. Cash action bet says Bengals and under. Bengals coming off 33-25 win at home. Burrow becomes the first rookie in NFL history to throw over 300 yards 3 consecutive games. 25 of 36 for 300 yards and a touchdown to Mixon. Mixon went to the hospital on Saturday with chest and difficulty breathing, and rushes for 151 yards on 25 carries, 2 touchdowns. Very impressive. The Bengals rolled up 505 yards of offense. Now, they still have injuries. Atkins is still hurt. Linebacker Logan Wilson, cornerback Mackenzie Alexander, defensive tackle Atkins, all questionable. And A.J. Green hurt his wrist and didn't return. Ravens, we just talked about that Redskins game. They just made all the big plays. It was a professional win. It wasn't like they soundly beat the Washington Football Club because they didn't really. Lamar goes 14 of 21 for 193 yards, runs 7 times for 53 yards. Humphrey signs that 5-year, $100 million or $98 million contract and forces a fumble and looks so good. 17th straight game in which Baltimore forced at least 1 turnover. Wide receiver Chris Moore, offensive tackle Ronnie Stanley, defensive end Derek Wolfe, and defensive tackle Justin Madubuike are all questionable. Should the Ravens be this big of a favorite in this divisional battle, Bebsy?
It's too many points for a divisional battle for me to jump on and get excited about. I'm kind of with you in the sense that it feels like the books are screaming at you to throw money on the Bengals here. I don't know what to believe right now out of the Bengals. They've hung tough in certain games. They had a nice backdoor cover against Cleveland. I don't like this. I don't like this game at all. I can't bet on a bad team, and the only team I want to bet on right now is the Bengals. They're so outmatched in this game. But again, it's kind of like the Chiefs in the sense that they could go up early, full throttle, and destroy this team, and then the Bengals come back and get a backdoor cover late in the game. I don't like it one bit. I don't think it's going to be like week 1 when the Ravens trounced the Browns, but it's just too many points. It's too many points for me to take the Ravens, and it's too bad of a football team in the Bengals for me to get excited about betting on.
Who are the Ravens? Because they look very bad against the Chiefs, and that was an underwhelming victory over Washington.
The Ravens are a team that is very good, and they can just pound the piss out of bad teams. But much like the playoffs in the last 2 years, they bogged down against good teams. They looked bad against the Chiefs because the Chiefs are a good team. And this is sort of, been the stable for Greg Roman's entire career. Offensively, when he's up against a better opponent, he gets too conservative. He boxes himself in, and he looks bad. He has looked like a terrible offensive coordinator in both his playoff games. He looked terrible as an offensive coordinator in his playoff games with the Bills and the Niners. And, the playoff games, it just means you're playing a better team. Never mind the playoffs. Everybody gets up for every week. You're just playing a better team, and he plays too conservative against those teams. So they're a team that can beat up on bad teams, and they're not going to play very well against good teams, which is, I don't know, it feels like an oversimplification to say, but that's exactly how I feel about this team. They're very talented. They're well coached as far as a head coach goes. It's just Greg Roman against great or even very good defenses sort of boxes himself in.
Do we have any idea if Geno Atkins could come back? Love to have
Who
him in the lineup.
knows? He is he doubtful or questionable?
He's questionable, but you know, I think this is
Nilo's got a decent look at the Baltimore first half.
I think okay. So if the Bengals played the Washington Football Club right now, and there was neutral site, and there was no spread, there was even money each way. Who do you bet on?
Sorry, you're cutting out a bit there. What was
If
that?
the Bengals,
that
if the
question?
Bengals played the Washington Football Club right now on a neutral site, and it was even money each way, who would you bet on?
Probably Washington, just based on better trench play. I think that's a team that can swallow up a rookie quarterback, and that's I think the biggest problem for the Bengals right now is, especially with Atkins out, they don't have very many difference makers on the offensive or defensive line.
I think this is too many points, and
it's a lot of points. You're right. This is the books.
All right, we will. Nilo says more weapons. Haskins isn't there. Birdie says it is too many points. All right, I'm close to making a move on the Bengals, but I don't want to just sit here and hum and haw. Cash action is on the Bengals and the under. And then Birdie says way too many points. Why though? You know, expecting the books to always win, and they're feeding us this 13. What do you think of this total, Bebsy, in this spot, sitting at 51? 51.
I don't know. To me, it feels high. Then again, I like that ability for the backdoor cover with a team that's not afraid to have their rookie quarterback throw 60 times in a game. I think Nilo's onto something here. The smartest play here is the first half.
Well, I will offer you. This is a Bengals or no play for me. But I will give you an offer here on the licensed American books here for Ravens first half and minus 7.5 and minus 114 at Bet Rivers. And let's see what Bet365 is offering you. Imagine it'll be better than that. Yes, much better. Minus 7 and minus 105. You want
it? Yeah, I can take minus that and sit on that comfortably. I just don't like a complete game here.
Let me just pull you out and bring you back in. It's kind of a.
You know what? I'm going to reset it.
The computer? Okay.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna unplug my modem because it's obviously being too much of a problem. So let me do that. Back in.
Okay, cool. Yeah, bounce out, and bounce back in. All right, cool. Alrighty. So Ravens minus 7 and minus 105. I will bring that back up to Bebsy to see if he wants to pull the trigger. But Mr. Funmug says you eked out that Baltimore first half total last week in the last 2 minutes. He did, yeah. I eked out that first quarter. I mean, I didn't eke it out. I mean, they ended up covering it by 4 points because I had the minus 3. they got the -7, but it was fortunate. You know, it was 2.5 minutes left, and Washington had the football, and it was in Washington's end, but it was a pick and then a bomb down the sidelines, like a 39-yard pass to get us in action, and I was fortunate. Bengals +13 seems like a play that I would like to make. My pleasure, Justin Betts. But again, I really feel like we were sort of fortunate there, and the stats showed that the Ravens just made the big plays when they needed to make them. All right, Bebsy back in action. Let me pull him back in and pull him back out. See if we can get him clear. Can't seem to get him clear. Close. We're getting closer. Bebsy, did you want to pull the trigger on that +7 or -7? Excuse me, -105 first half.
Yeah, Baltimore -7 first half. I'm pretty comfortable with that play.
All right, let's lock that in. I'll pull Bebsy out for a little bit. See, it looks so clear on my computer. It's a little touch and go there. Okay, I'm gonna lock Bebsy in. Bebsy